let's get started. So once again, thank you all for taking time today to join us at the Not Another Virtual Hackathon Second Life workshop. In this 6.5 weeks of hackathon, we have introduced a number of live workshop sessions for all of you to attend in hoping for you to get well equipped with knowledge in order to tackle the different bounties for the hackathon as well. For today, we have Eric, who will be going through a topic on MetaMask and React Unite, building Web3 dApps with seamless wallet integration as well. But before I invite Eric up on stage, just kind of have a quick shout out to everyone to let you know that there will be surprises that are installed for people who have actually attended and last all the way to the end of the workshop in itself. And in the weeks to come, we will actually be announcing the various winners who will get a little bit of a surprise as a personal touch for this virtual hackathon as well. Other than that, we do have other surprises. Keep a lookout of our Discord channel where we'll make various announcements of little things that you can look forward to for the hackathon in itself. So without further ado, let me welcome Eric up on stage. Eric, please.
Hey. All right. Let's see. Am I behind the podium? There we go. Yep. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Eric Bichard, and I am the MetaMask DevRel manager. More specific, I work directly with the MetaMask SDK, MetaMask API, even Linea and Truffle and some of the other products, but mostly MetaMask SDK. So today we're going to we're not going to build a full stack React app using SDK and Infura Truffle and deploy to Linea. We're going to clone a project down. We only have an hour. If we were to build it, it would probably be a few hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone down this repo. After I go through a bunch of slides and talk about a bunch of stuff, we're going to clone down a repo, and there is some configuration that will need to get done. So I'll walk you through all of that. And if you're hacking on SDK, then I think these will be pretty good resources. See, we have some feedback. You know what that is? Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go anyways. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get started with my slides. Uh-oh. Let's see here. There we go. Thomas just got turned down. All right, so sorry about that. All right, so again, my name is Eric Bichard, and you can check me out on Twitter, Telegram, GitHub, Lens, or ENS. I don't know if we can we mute Thomas Crobble? Sorry about that. They may not know that their mic is hot. I've turned it down on my side. I don't know if that works for you guys, but you should be able to go into the view on the side and just turn that mic down on them. Yeah, so Twitter, I'm HTTP Junkie. My DMs are always open. If you have feedback, if you have questions, you can always hit me up. We have a Discord also for NAVH, in which you can go and ask questions about not only MetaMask SDK, but Snaps, Infura, Truffle, everything. Great. So the MetaMask API, kind of what does it do? It's pretty basic, actually. It helps you to connect to the MetaMask browser extension or MetaMask mobile. Previously, or as you might have seen on a lot of dApps, when you connect with a MetaMask button, typically you're connecting to the browser extension. And if you're a developer, you might have noticed in the past, without using something like a wallet connect, it is very difficult to just use the MetaMask API in order to connect to MetaMask mobile. So the SDK was brought forth with a purpose of connecting to MetaMask mobile. However, the version of MetaMask SDK I'm going to show you today how it kind of works is that it can connect you to the extension if you have it. And if you don't, it'll connect you to the mobile. And I'll also talk about the next version of the MetaMask SDK, which has a slight UX change, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. If you want to follow along, the second URL here are the slides. So tinyurl.com/mm-sdk-linea-slides. And then the actual repo, the GitHub repo, is the first link here. And I'm going to get to a point where we talk about Linea a little bit. I'm not going to focus too much on it. We're deploying to Linea, but it's not different at all from a developer perspective of deploying to a Polygon or an Ethereum. And in fact, Linea is an EVM equivalent. So yeah, you don't even have to change any code. The agenda. So we're going to review the demo app here in the slides, and then we'll review Linea. We'll also review some basics of SDK, and then we'll get started with the project. We'll clone it down, we'll install the dependencies, we'll configure the environment variables, we'll review the blockchain and the web workspaces. So think of this, this project that we clone down as it's a mono repo, but there's multiple projects in one, and we have a blockchain folder and a web. You know, most of you, if you're in Web 2 or have been in the Web 2 space, you might think of like server and web. It's very similar. We'll then build and deploy to the Linea testnet, but I'll also show you kind of how with this project, you can very easily just deploy out to Ethereum. You could deploy out to Garely or Mumbai. Then we will test the front-end application. We'll mint some NFTs. We'll do some wallet interaction, make sure that our wallet state stays in sync with our application. And then we can potentially talk about questions or review some other kind of interesting resources that will help you out in your hackathon. So the demo will be a very basic ticket app. And this ticket app is for a fictitious event called ETH Atlantis, the best Ethereum event under the sea. It's not affiliated with ETH Global, disclaimer. And you have an option whenever using the SDK to connect with the extension, as you see here. You're probably very familiar with this, or to use a QR code to connect to MetaMask Mobile. This is kind of the purpose of the SDK. Now, in the future, the SDK will have a lot of other things. What are some of the things that it might have in the future? Well, we know that it will have a React companion library that has components, has state management. I'm doing a lot of that manually inside of my project, and I'll show you, you know, where we're conditionally rendering like the connect button and the address display and the balance and all of that stuff that you need to know about your wallet and your app. And I'll also show you how I've done the state management. It will look very complex, and that is why it'll be very great in the next few weeks when we get the React kit available, that you might want to pull that in and use it, so you don't have to do all the hard work that I do inside of this repo. But if you like fine-grained control and you want to have complete control over your state management and your conditional rendering and everything involved with the wallet, you can totally do that. And this workshop could be a good reference for that. This is what the app will look like once we have successfully built it. Notice you can see a little button up there. It's not a button, it's actually like a little tag called extension. So there is a way for us to know once we're connected to the extension or mobile. And I show that in the app, kind of how to show that button. But as a developer, you might want to know that because there might be something that you want to do different if they're connected to extension or mobile. Then you have this navigation bar up here. And again, you have this kind of like what we're connected to. You have the chain. So once we've specified a chain that we want this app to run on, this little highlighted area will show up if you're connected to Linea. If you're not, a switch chain button will show up. And that would allow your users to programmatically switch over to the chain without having to manually or go into MetaMask and do that themselves. They may not have the chain in their wallet. That button will also add the chain if they don't have it. It'll show the address. It'll show the balance. We have some ticket types here. And these mint ticket buttons, we have some logic set up into them to where if you're minting a ticket at the time, it will, disable the button, which is kind of like our loading or progress kind of bar for the mint button. Again, it's a demo app. It's not, fully built out, but I think it has a lot of the logic that you need to know getting started. And then you'll have your tickets down here too. So once you mint a ticket, right? Like if we just didn't show anything, that would kind of suck from a UX perspective. So when we mint a ticket for someone, whether it's a general admission or a VIP ticket, we want to show those down at the bottom. And we'll walk through the project and I'll show you where all these components are, where they live inside the React project. Again, this is a Vite.js React project. Now, you may be asking, what is Linea? And if you don't know, that's fine. It's just launched. In fact, the test net has only been around for a few months. And the main net, I believe, just finally launched. I hope I'm getting that right. I think I saw that it's available now. So Linea is a L2 scaling solution. It's a type 2 ZK rollup, and we're going to use Linea for deployment of our contract in our application. But again, it's no different than really deploying over to like a Polygon or a Ethereum. So it's a type 2 ZK rollup, not a layer 1. A layer 2 is a separate blockchain that increases transaction speed and throughput, while also kind of deriving its security from the Ethereum EVM. It pulls off that execution layer away from the L1, and it relies on Ethereum for data availability and to post, and they post their transaction, or it posts its transaction data back onto the L1 Ethereum. So rollups are most widely accepted implementation, and you have optimistic rollups like Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, and you have ZK rollups like Linea, ZK Sync, Polygon, ZK EVM, Polygon ZK EVM, Scroll, and Starknet. So MetaMask SDK and Dapps. So kind of what happens behind the scenes. And this is the current version of MetaMask SDK, 0.4.2. Now, 0.5 will work a little bit different, but I'll go ahead and explain both. So right now, the way that it works is when you instantiate the SDK in your application, and then you call ETH request accounts, the SDK will kind of hijack that and say, hey, I'm going to figure out first, do they have the MetaMask extension installed? And if yes, then I'm going to give them the option of connecting to the extension. If they're already connected, it'll just kind of automatically connect. If they haven't, it'll give them an option to select which accounts they want to connect, and then it will make one of those active, right? If the MetaMask extension does not exist in your browser, then it'll provide you with a install link or this QR code, right? And the QR code is the biggest thing on the page, so they can't miss it. And so you can take your phone out if it has MetaMask on it, and you can take a picture of that QR code with your MetaMask wallet, and it will connect you, wire you up to the Dapps. So my phone that's in the air over here will be connected to my Dapps on my computer screen, right? Magic. Some references that I just want to point out before we get started is MetaMask SDK developer resources. So this tiny URL at the top, this is a guide that I keep up to date with any tutorials that I think are relevant to SDK developers. They're mostly SDK related, but sometimes I'll have like MetaMask API tutorials in there. In fact, you'll find some of those at the very bottom of that page. Because if you're trying to get started with the SDK, but you've never worked with MetaMask before, I want to provide you with some links to help you do that as well. And so there's some React tutorials in there. We mostly focus on React right now because we had to pick one of them and go with it. And we feel like most people are working on React, but look forward to, other tutorials for other frameworks coming out, maybe in the next few months. We have the Linea link, and then also just kind of out of the blue, out of nowhere, kind of not really related to anything here, but there is a new MetaMask improvement proposal GitHub repo, and this is a way that you, the community, the developers, can contribute to kind of the MetaMask API and its changes, and you can suggest improvement proposals. And I think it's really cool, and I just wanted to add that here as well. So let us go. I'm going to, oops, I just did the wrong screen here. All right, so I want to, there we go. All right, so we have, if you followed that top link that I showed on the slides, and you know what, I'll just open it up one more time really quick. So this one right here at the top, tinyurl.com/mm-sdk-linea. Well, that will take you to this repo right here. And we'll go through this. Notice that there is a README. So if you want to just watch passively, you can take this home later and you can step through step by step. And this should get you all the way to building and deploying to Linea. But what we're going to do is we're going to copy this code here, or the URL, and we are going to open up our terminal. Find yourself a nice little corner of your computer to do a git clone and pop that in there. That should pull that down, and then we can change directories into the correct one. And let's open that up with, let's do code. So we'll do Visual Studio Code. It'll be better than doing something else. Everyone probably will recognize Visual Studio Code. Let's give a little bit of room so we can get back to the browser if we need to. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up this README here, and pretty much I'm gonna walk through a little bit of it. So I'm not gonna do a bunch of reading from a README, but I do want to make sure that I'm not kind of forgetting anything. So this is an NFT tickets workshop that utilizes SVG to create on-chain SVG NFT tickets. We already talked about this is a fictitious event. It's not real. This is just a demo. We're using Turbo Repo under the hood, which is for mono repos. It's for kind of working with, I use NPM, but creating this kind of mono repo style application where we have like a root, we have a blockchain folder, we have a web folder. This will be our React application. This is where our contracts will be. And yeah, so inside of our mono repo, we have two workspaces, again, blockchain and web. The blockchain workspace is there. It has Truffle, and we have a Solidity smart contract in there. And that smart contract is called ETH tickets. And it's very basic. If you've worked with Solidity before, you'll be able to find your way around in here very well. The scope of this course is not enough to where we're going to go over all this Solidity code, but it keeps track of the total supply. So that's a public function that you have. Wallet of owner. So as a user or as a wallet owner kind of mints NFTs on this contract, we can call into the function this function at any time, and we can find out how many NFTs or what NFTs and what token IDs that the owner of that wallet has minted on this contract. This will allow us to fetch all of those and then display them on the front end, if you remember from the demo screenshot. We can go down here a little bit. So we have an NFT, a mint NFT function. This is just like almost any mint function that you've seen. We increment the total supply. We utilize safe mint, and I plan on kind of refactoring and kind of revamping this contract a little bit. It's a little bit old, but it still works. Token URI is how we can call into the contract and just get that NFT back, just that SVG that's on chain, that never leaves on chain. There's no IPFS in this project. I did that because if anyone is new to Web3, I don't want them to have to deal with kind of overhead of managing images and file systems and all that kind of stuff. So we just do on-chain SVG. Cool. So we're also utilizing type chain. So if you're new to Web3, or if you're in Web3 and have not heard of type chain and you're a React or a TypeScript developer, this is something that you want to start learning. Type chain is a package specifically designed for devs who use TypeScript and want to interact with the Ethereum smart contracts in their web applications. So it generates TypeScript bindings based on the Solidity contract code. You get the benefits of type safety, auto-completion, and a clear way to communicate and use the underlying smart contracts. It'll help you catch errors earlier in development. It'll improve code readability. It integrates with Ethereum development frameworks and libraries such as Truffle, Hardhat, Ethers, and Web3.js, and that's why we use it. So in this project, we use the type chain Ethers v5 and the type chain Truffle v5. Yep, obviously those target Ethers and Truffle. Cool. We already know the rest of this stuff. Yep. Kind of once you've cloned down the repo, you can check out the README, and we can get on to step 1, which we've already done. We're inside of this React SDK Linea workshop. Can we get the link to the repo? Wait, is that an old message? I did give that, right? I can go back and get it though. I think they were asking me for the link to the repo, so I'll paste this in there just in case. We haven't gone anywhere yet, so if I've given that to Justin, he should be able to get that out to you guys because I don't know how to do that. All right, cool. Let's go back. All right, so once we've done a git clone and we've changed into our directory, we can run npm install. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is going to take a minute, but so what this is doing is Turbo is installing packages at the root level, at the web level, and at the blockchain level, kind of all at the same time. And we can also do things in our package.json. So we can target like npm run dev workspace web. Yeah, there's the tiny URL. Gladys has got it. Thank you so much. You can do like npm run dev workspace web. So if you ran this command from the root directory, you could assume that there is a script inside of the web directory that is called dev. And if we go look inside the web directory and we look at dev, we will see what that command will run. So that makes sense. Also, we can just really quickly scroll down a little bit and see that if we were to run like npm run deploy Mumbai, then we would expect that in the workspace blockchain or the blockchain folder, there must be a package.json with a deploy Mumbai script, right? Awesome. So back up here, we've done the npm install. It looks like that has worked. This Zep thing is in my way. Move that out of the way. All right. So the next thing you might need to do is you might need to create an Infura account, and I will be deleting my my API key as soon as this is over. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And I mean, I guess if you were like building it right now, you could probably use that if you screenshotted that, but I'm going to be deleting it right after this is done. And what we want to do is we want to take that API key and we want to go put that into our environment variable. So we have 2 environment variable files in this project. One is at the blockchain level and one is at the web. So this is the web. I'm just going to rename it to .env. I'm going to drop my Infura ID in there. And I'm also going to specify here. So this is just a way that I've set up this project. Again, this is a demo. It seems a little wonky, but I'm using the hex version of the chain ID in order to specify to my application what chain I want the user to be running on. So if they are not running on Linea, I think it's 59114 or something like that. We'll find that out in a minute. Or actually, we can just find it out real quick and I'll show you a cool tool. Let's go to eSerialize. You could also go to chainlist.org and we'll go hex to number, drop that in there. So 59140. So 59140 is the chain ID that we want to run against because that's where we're going to deploy our contract to. just know that in this environment variable file, when you're setting this, that's going to be the chain that we want the MetaMask user to be on in their wallet when they're minting an NFT. And if they're not on that chain, then we're going to provide them a button to programmatically change them over to it. Got it? All right. So we've got our environment variable file for web filled out. The next one is our blockchain. So let's go ahead and rename this one. And we're going to call this .env. Again, we can paste that same Infura project ID in here. Go back and get that real quick. So we'll grab our Infura ID. I know, so much configuration. And then private key. So let me paste that in there. Not quite. I'm going to go off screen to do this real quick. So bear with me for one moment while I do this. I probably should have had this ready to go, but I have to actually go get this from my wallet. So you have to bear with me for one moment. In the meantime, you can look at the links there in case someone doesn't have that. All right, so I'm going to sign into MetaMask. And I'm going to go to my account tab. And I'm going to click on the three little dots. To the right, go to account details. Yep. And then I'm going to show private key. Right. No one can see this, right? Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm not sharing the screen. All right. So copy that. And then put it into that file. And then I'm also not going to show you guys that file again. So copy it. I'm having problems copying and pasting right now. All right, so I'll close that file and bring this back over. Okay, cool. So hopefully I do not click back on that file. That would be very bad. Let's go up here to contracts. Okay. So we have both of our environment variable files filled out. So we've got these tokens that we needed to have in our project. We've got them in the environment variable files. The next thing I wanted to kind of show to you guys is the truffle config. So in our truffle config, I've only made a few kind of changes, right? I have this directory that I'm going to build out to. So when I compile and build my contracts, they're going to get shoved out here to the source lib directory. So this lib directory will eventually have a contract ABIs folder in it, and that will have all the ABIs for any of the contracts that we're building from this contracts directory. I have also created a Garely, Mumbai, and Linea network for you, just as just to show you what those would look like. In case you want to try deploying to some other L2s or other chains, all that's here. So for our provider, we've just gotten this from Infura. And if we even actually look at Infura real quick, we can see that the testnet, we have this, and then we have our ID at the end, and that should match what we see here in our truffle config. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So nothing more to see there, really. All right, next step is, that network ID is used by all of these files, so that's why we have it there. Okay, we're down to npm run build. We're getting somewhere. So let's go ahead and run this, npm run build. Hopefully we have no issues. There we go, 2 successful. And do we have errors? Oh, those are just CSS errors. Those are not a problem at all. CSS errors are fine. They're just linting, actually. They're not even really errors. Cool. So at this point, we've built our project, and notice that when we ran npm run build, we have gotten our contract ABIs in our web directory, right? Awesome. So now we can deploy out to Linea. And we're gonna copy this one right here. But if you wanted to deploy to Mumbai, you could do this one, or also Garely. You could replace Mumbai with Garely. That would work also. We'll go to our terminal here. Go ahead and run that, and let's pray to the Linea gods that nothing is kind of happening with Linea today. I had issues with Mumbai yesterday though, so we can't just pick on Linea. I've had issues with both of the last few days, but hopefully we can deploy with no problem here. There we go. We got a contract address. Now, what you could do inside of your, I have this configuration file here, right? So I know that in my demo that I present in this workshop that I sometimes want to show people how to deploy to Mumbai, Linea, or Garely. And notice that I've got the same kind of like hex chain IDs here. So I have this object with the chain IDs and then what those chains are and all the information I need for them, because I need these in my application. I'm just going to come in here and actually paste in this contract address. I don't know why that one's there. But what you could do is you could do something like import ETH tickets, and then you could do from, and you could do / contract ABIs. You could do something like contract ABIs. I want that select. There we go. You could select your JSON, and then I could literally drill down to that guy here. I'm not going to do that because it introduces some issues if I want to do it for each one of these that I wasn't able to resolve. So I'm just copying and pasting for now. If anyone has a good solution for that and wants to make a pull request, that'd be great. I can figure it out, but I had a little bit of an issue with some TypeScript generics that I wrote that actually me and a friend wrote, and it wasn't working, so I got rid of it today. Okay, cool. So we've got everything configured. I mean, it seems like a lot, but it really wasn't. You know, we talked a lot about it. Usually all that configuration step just takes me a few minutes. And then once I start building and kind of playing with my contract and changing things in my web application, I don't have to do any of those changes again, except for if I deploy my contract out again. So now we're going to run this npm run dev testnet. We're going to run this from the root. So we're going to come down here and run it. And let's hope that none of the changes that I made last night cause any issues today. We should be running on, if we go take a look here, package.json, MetaMask SDK 0.4.2. And I will show you when this builds, kind of what the difference between the 4.2 and the new 0.5 that's coming out. So here is our application. We have this connect MetaMask button up here on the right-hand side. So in our project, I'm going to make it to where we can see both of these. You would have this components directory. And if we take a look at the main application, we have a context provider wrapping out our entire application. And then we have a div, which is a container. And we have a navigation, a display, and an error. So that would be navigation, kind of display area here. And then there's an error down here at the bottom. So if we do connect MetaMask, please don't do this to me. Wallet request permissions already pending for order. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, it's already up. Okay. Well, we get to see what the error looks like down there. I thought that was a different error. Okay, great. But yeah, so if we just click on the error down here, it'll go away, and we need to accept this. That was the issue. I thought we were having a real error. Great. So that should connect us. And notice how we connected to 2 accounts. So you can see that we have that we're connected to the extension, that we're on the Linea chain. Let's actually not be on the Linea chain for a moment. Let's go, like, what if they were on Mumbai, right? It's the wrong chain. But what if they were on Mumbai? Well, we wouldn't actually show them that little piece of text with the link out to the block explorer. Instead, we would give them the switch chain button. And if they click on it, it'll just switch them right back over to Linea, right? That's pretty cool. Anything that we can do for our user to where they don't have to go, go visit chainlist.org. So if anyone here doesn't know chainlist.org, if we were to include testnets and type Linea here, if we did not have that chain in MetaMask, we could get the chain ID, we could get the hex version of it, and we can also hit connect wallet to add and connect to that chain if we wanted to. So just pointing that out. And then we have our address. If we click on address, it'll take us to Etherscan. And then finally, we have our balance over here. So if I change my account from one to the other, so from account 1 to account 2, I should go from 2.066 linear ETH, or it's rounding up to 2.7 in my display. It should go to 0.5. So so I clicked on that, and you'll notice that my address and my balance has updated, right? So our wallet is in sync with our React application. The reason why you are going to want to take a look at this repo and maybe have it for a reference is because if you go to our SDK docs right now, right? SDK is in kind of what we call developer preview, or kind of a beta, right? I think it's a little bit further along in the beta, but I would call it developer preview. The docs are minimal. There are some docs there, but what the docs show you how to do is very minimal. Like, it's a few lines of code to instantiate the SDK. You need to call ETH requests, right? Like that's an import. That's maybe 10 lines of code at most, because we're passing in some options to that SDK when we instantiate it. But that doesn't really do anything for us in our application. It'll allow us to connect. If we create a connect button, it'll allow us to connect to MetaMask extension or mobile, but it won't make sure that our wallet state is staying in sync with our application. That's all the hard work that you have to do, right? So let's take a look at kind of what's going on here. What's making all of this work? So we'll start with the navigation page. And should we start with navigation, or should we start with the hook? We'll start with the navigation page. I think it's easier to grok kind of from the beginning. So here, just know that we're using this use MetaMask hook. And this is where all the code exists to keep track of the wallet state and keep it in sync. We'll go back to that in a minute. We are getting our network ID from our environment variable file. We are finding out which wallet chain is supported. And then we are also getting some basic chain info. We are showing our logo and our connect. So here's where kind of all the, what I would call kind of logic, our connect button logic is, right? So if the wallet.accounts.length is less than 1, then we know that they have not connected to MetaMask. SDK does all the detection of if they have MetaMask or not. So we can just check, is there an accounts array with any length to it or not? If there's not, we're going to show that connect MetaMask button. This connect MetaMask button will activate a connect MetaMask function. And if we go look at that, that is inside of our hook here. And it's this function right here. So all it's doing is calling ETH request accounts, right? So if we take a look up right down here, this is where we instantiate the SDK, right? And then this function right above it, this is how we connect. In reality, outside of kind of all this state management stuff, if you just do this right here, and then you call a function that does this, you will be able to utilize the SDK. That's the most minimum way of using the SDK. In the hackathon, I think what we'd like to see people doing is something closer to like what I've done here. Now, we definitely don't want you to just copy my hook, but we want to see some UI inside of your application that is staying in sync. Like maybe you have like a profile section over here, kind of like OpenSea does, or just doing additional things inside of your application. If you're submitting to the MetaMask SDK bounty, it's not so much like what you've done with the SDK. It's more about like the overall project that you've built. What is the whole idea? Is it scalable? Is it something that could actually be fundable? And then also, what's the UX like? If they switch over to the wrong chain, are you providing them with a like a switch chain button to get back, right? That requires work. That requires creating a button. It requires creating a hook. So we have a switch network button. We have a switch network hook. Like, this is all additional stuff that you would need to write on your own in order to kind of make your UX and your site better. Cool. And then, so once we've kind of connected them and we know that they have some length to their accounts, one thing that I'm doing here is I have this SDK connected piece of state that's coming from use MetaMask here. So if we look at that one real quick, we just find out where this guy is set up. So it's just a piece of state. And when the SDK is instantiated, we set SDK connected to true. So interesting thing, I think it's kind of the way I've named it here is not really a good naming convention, because I think what this should be called is kind of SDK mobile connected. So you can kind of, point being is that there is a way when you're connected to the SDK to know whether you're on extension or mobile. I think that's where I'm going with that. So then we have our switch network button here. So I kind of showed you that. It's just a very basic button, but just know that that is a hook that I've created that makes an RPC request out using wallet add Ethereum. And this is where all that configuration information is used, right? The stuff that's in config.ts, all of this contract address, symbol, block explorer, RPC URL. I need to know all of that stuff in order to be able to switch someone to the proper network, right? You could also imagine if you wanted to support multiple chains, having a kind of more scalable version of something like this, right? You might want to deploy to multiple chains and have people be able to mint NFTs on multiple chains, maybe. I don't know. Then we have kind of all of just the visual stuff, what chain are they on? What's the chain name? What's the number of the chain ID? We have a function that will convert that hex into a number. We have the address, the wallet address, and we have the balance. Now, since all of these, the address, the balance, the chain ID, since all of this comes from wallet dot, if we go take a look at wallet is the wallet state, right? And this is part of our MetaMask context data. In React, there is this kind of concept of a context provider. I think if you have experience with React, a lot of this file will make sense. If not, just know that the main thing we're doing in here is making sure that we have some basic global state being tracked about our application, the number of mints in the current session, if they have clicked the clear error, if an error has been created by connecting to MetaMask, maybe if they hit reject, the set error would fire. But also, like, all of the, we have all of these events down here that we're kind of tracking. So on initialized, on connect, on accounts changed, these are the two big ones right here, accounts changed and chain changed. So when they go and actually physically change the chain, if they change the chain right now, if I go over to Sepolia, then what's happening is that this one right here is being fired. And then I need to be able to update the wallet and the accounts. And I need to basically go and fetch the information again from down here. Oops, let's see here. So here we go. So we've got ETH get balance, ETH. So we have chain ID, ETH underscore chain ID, right? We can go and make sure that that information is refreshed and that we have all the latest information about what chain they're on, what account they're on, and we can update our global state. Since React is a one-way data flow, when we update that global state, any component that depends on that state will automatically get updated with what we call React magic. Awesome. So where do we go from here? We probably want to mint an NFT, right? So let's switch our chain back because we just went to the wrong chain. And let's go ahead and mint a ticket. We're going to mint a general admission ticket just to make sure that everything works. So notice that minting ticket is kind of, it's disabled right now. This can take a minute, so I'll take a drink. And boom. So how did we get this down here to show up, right? So if we take a look real quickly, we'll see that this tickets page, when we click that mint NFT button, and this is kind of where we're using type chain. We're using a type chain factory to attach our contract and get this NFT tickets object. And if we have this NFT tickets object, then we have access to all of the public functions within our contract. So of course we have a mint NFT function in our contract. We're going to pass the wallet address and the price. So the way that our contract works, it's kind of hacky, but if they pass us 0.02 ETH, they get a VIP ticket. If they pass us 0.01 ETH, they get a general admission ticket. I think it's actually quite clever because literally there's only one way to buy a GA ticket, one way to buy a VIP ticket, and that is to pay a certain amount of ETH. Now that could be problematic in some cases, but where you want to actually change how much those tickets cost. But for a demo, it works pretty good. And then on the front end, we kind of create buttons. So the GA ticket will, 0.01 and the VIP 0.02, and that will give them, one or the other, either a VIP or a general admission ticket. So let's go back to tickets real quick. So once we're done with our transaction, we are calling update mints. And this is literally React counter territory. Like if you know how to create a React counter, that's literally all I'm doing. I created a hook. Again, this is a demo, guys. But I created a hook and literally just made this update mints function, which just increments this mints piece of state every time that we mint something. That way in the navigation, sorry, not in that navigation, in the tickets owned file, which is at the bottom, right? We have the tickets page up here, tickets component, I should say. We have tickets owned down here. So in the tickets owned, we have a use effect, which calls out to that wallet of owner. So NFT tickets.wallet of owner. This will give us back a list of the tokens that our address has purchased kind of from that contract or minted on that contract. We'll push those into an array, and then we will iterate over them right up here. So we end up creating this list of tickets, and then we have a image, which is an SVG, and we kind of load that ticket.svg image, which that other the other function, this one right here, this one will create for us. Makes sense, right? So point being, when they mint a ticket, when the ticket is done minting, when the transaction is complete, we increment a number somewhere, which changes that state, which that use effect that fetches the data of all the tickets that I owned. Since that number changes and that use effect depends on it, it's just a really kind of cheap and hacky way of saying, hey, something happens, that they minted something. Go check how many tickets they have again. So we'll do it with VIP real quick, and then we'll move on to testing out. I know we've only got like 8 more minutes left, but we'll go to we'll try MetaMask Mobile. Question 2, can we use scaffold ETH to develop the complete Dapp? Can we use Scaffold ETH to develop the complete dApp? Are you talking about for like your hackathon project? If you're talking about for the hackathon, you can use whatever you want to create your hackathon project. You can consult the rules of the hackathon for sure. But I assume that that's why you're asking. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, why not, right? Like if we had a CLI, which by the way, we might have a CLI soon for a consensus kind of file new project, and it kind of scaffolds out your project for you, like that you would be able to use that, right? Vite, what I'm using here, like scaffolds out a project for you. We're definitely not going to dock your entry to the hackathon because you use something like Vite. So I would assume that Scaffold ETH is fair game as well. All right, so I think I've explained everything pretty well what's going on here. The next thing that we want to do is we want to actually disable the MetaMask extension. So let's go ahead and kill that. And then we'll refresh over here. And now we're not connected anymore, right? So what I want to do now is now that I've disabled the MetaMask extension, remember 0.4.2 of the MetaMask SDK works this way, where if I connect and an extension doesn't exist, when I click on mobile, I'm going to open up my wallet. Is it open yet? It's opening. There we go. There's the box. And then I click on the little QR code scanner and I scan it. And then you'll see here that I get, I'm sorry about that glare. I get my my connection confirmation. I click yes. I want to connect to this dApp. It does take a second. And now you can see we're on the Linea chain and we're connected to OXC66, which is a different wallet. And notice that there are no tickets down here because this wallet hasn't minted any yet. Really quick, I'm just going to show you that I'm going to switch over to Polygon mainnet real quick. So I switched and notice my application updates. So I don't want to be on Polygon. So I'm going to switch chain back. And when I switch chain, and then I can click yes. Sorry about that. All right, there it goes. So it changes, right? So everything I do with my MetaMask mobile, works here, just like and you can also see that I'm on mobile now, right? So that mobile trick worked. I can tell whether I'm on extension or mobile. I can say, hey, guy on mobile, or hey, guy on extension. Yeah, very awesome. Now, the last and final kind of test here would be to mint a ticket. So if I click the mint button, we should see, there it goes. Confirm. Transaction submitted. And now it does take a tiny bit longer on, oh no, it didn't. That actually worked a lot faster. My ticket didn't show up oh, there it is, yay. All right, so that worked, right? It takes a little bit longer. Cool. We'll do another one. We'll mint a VIP one as well. And also, any questions? Let's go ahead and get those rolling because we only got 5 more minutes. How can I see is there like a stage chat that I can see? I haven't figured that out yet. Here we go. Private areas, stage area. I guess people just say things, right? Oh, here it is. Even though we're working on inferior material. Thanks, man. Okay, cool. Now I see where you guys are typing now. I didn't see that before. I'm so sorry. Our app works. Also, I can disconnect from here. So I can do like manage extension or manage connections. And I can do disconnect, clear, and then notice it disconnects from my app, right? So that's kind of the power of the MetaMask SDK. You get this better UX when connecting your users. And I think a few things that I can say now that I think are okay to talk about is that if you don't want to do all this work with the SDK, like as far as like setting up your state management and your components and all the conditional rendering that you have to do kind of inside of the navigation, then one, we're going to have a React kit coming out soon, which you can just drop a component in. So like all of this stuff right here would probably just be like one little component that you drop on the page, right? This entire file over here that use MetaMask would probably just be something that you import and use, right? Outside of that, if you use WAGMI or Web3 JS, or maybe even block native, I think Web3 onboarder in the future, those will defaultly use the SDK under the hood if your user connects to MetaMask, right? So we have 3 minutes left. I think at the very least, I want to know in the chat if anything that you've seen today you think will help you with either building a React application in Web3 or working with the MetaMask SDK, especially considering that the docs are a little bit skimpy right now. So any thumbs up in the chat? Was any of this useful for you? I guess is what I'm asking. Outside of that, if you have any questions, hell yeah, Siddharth. Very useful, Murito. Murilo or Murito? Murillo, is that right? Fred, yes. Clemens, I crushed it. Awesome. There were no errors. I thought there was an error at once, but it wasn't. It was just me not checking my MetaMask thing. Yeah, and then if you, of course, just, I wanted to say this. So if you upgrade to 0.5 of the MetaMask SDK, one, this application will not work perfectly because of some of the extra stuff I'm doing inside of the state management. It's not the SDK's fault. They didn't break anything. In fact, they did break one thing. They made a breaking change in the UX. So if you're using 0.5.0, when you click connect MetaMask, I don't know why. Okay, yeah, because I'm still connected. You would get a little pop-up that says extension or mobile at any time, right? So rather than the way it works now, where if extension's not available, it shows you a QR code to connect to mobile. Think about it. If I have my wallet, like this is my development wallet right here, this Flask wallet, the MetaMask Flask, which is a development build of MetaMask. If I have this thing, and I don't want to connect to it, I want to connect to the one on my phone. That's kind of a problem, right? In the way that it works now. I want to mint a ticket, but I don't want to use my dev wallet. It has no real Ethereum in it. I want to use my phone, which has the real Ethereum in it. There's no way, unless to go and disable the extension, there's no way to connect to mobile. So we've shared this feedback with the team, and they have made sure that now when you connect using the SDK, that you always have the option of one or the other. And if the extension is not there, then it'll give you a button to install it. Right. It's 11 o'clock. That's it. No more fun. No more useful presentation. Thank you guys so much for showing up. And thanks for Justin and AngelHack. I just said AngelHack, didn't I? AngelHack. I love the stage thing, coming in kind of like I'm on the stage. Hey, who's next to me on the stage? Hey, what's up? All right. I guess that's it.
All right. Yeah.
Here, I'll show this.
Yeah.
We'll ride out with this. Get that out of the way. Awesome.